The moment her eyes met his, she realized he was no ordinary man. A Mafia King with a deadly secret, and a monster hidden beneath his skin. She should have run, but her heart wouldn't let her. What would you do if the person who could destroy you was also the one you couldn't live without? As you join me into this journey, make sure to like, share and subscribe. Also turn on your notification bell. Let's begin. Elena Hayes never imagined her simple life would collide with the darkest man in the city. She was a quiet 19-year-old girl who worked at Petal and Bloom, a tiny flower shop on a corner street. Her world was soft. Flowers, colors, warm sunlight and gentle customers. Nothing dangerous ever happened to her. Until that night. The shop owner, Ms. Grace, was sick, so Elena was asked to deliver a special flower arrangement to a customer's private event. The address shocked her. Blackwood Club. Everyone in the city knew that place. Expensive, exclusive, and said to be owned by the most feared man alive. Damien Blackwood, the Mafia King. Elena swallowed nervously as she carried the flower box toward the huge building. Tall men in black suits stood at the entrance, their shoulders wide like they could break bones with one hand. But she had a job to do. She cleared her throat. Flower delivery for Mr. Blackwood's private room? The guard stared at her for a long moment, his eyes sharp. You work here? He asked. No. I work at a flower shop. I'm just delivering this. The guard pressed his earpiece, listened, then finally nodded. Go ahead. Inside. Take the elevator to level 4. Private hallway. Do not wander. Elena nodded quickly and walked inside. The air smelled like expensive perfume and danger. Men in suits and women in glittering dresses moved around like shadows. Her heart raced as she stepped into the elevator. Level 4, restricted access. When the doors opened, she expected a hall with people. Instead it was quiet, too quiet. The carpet was black and soft, the lights dim. She followed the sign with trembling steps until she reached a door marked, Private. Do not enter. She gently knocked. No answer. She knocked again. Still nothing. She let out a shaky breath. Maybe I should just leave it by the door. But right then she heard voices from inside. Low, serious, angry. A man's voice said, You failed me, Marcus. And I don't tolerate failure. Another voice trembled. Please, boss, I can fix it. A sudden loud bang made her jump. Maybe someone hit the wall. Elena winced. Her hand shook so badly the flower box almost fell. She felt she should leave. But the door suddenly opened. And standing there was a tall, dark-haired man in a black suit. His eyes colder than winter. Damien Blackwood. The Mafia King. His presence felt heavy like the air tightened. He looked down at her with unreadable expression. Elena froze. She'd never seen a man so intimidating, so controlled, so terrifying, and yet strangely beautiful in a dangerous way. He spoke first, voice low and smooth. Who are you? I'm Elena. Flower delivery. For your private room. His eyes moved from her shaking hands to her face. Slowly, something shifted in his gaze. Not softness, just curiosity. As if he wasn't used to people looking at him without fear. He took the flowers from her hands. His fingers brushed hers, cold like ice. Who allowed you up here? He asked. The guard. I knocked, but no one answered. Damien sighed quietly. So you opened the door. I didn't. The door opened itself. I swear. Behind him, the man named Marcus was on the floor, wiping blood from his mouth. Damien glanced at him, then at her. You weren't supposed to hear anything, he said softly. I didn't hear much, she lied. Damien tilted his head like he could hear the lie. But instead of yelling or threatening her, he said, You should leave. Elena nodded quickly. Okay. She walked away fast, her heart pounding. But before she reached the elevator, she heard him call out, Elena. She froze and turned. Damien studied her like she was a puzzle he couldn't solve. Next time, he said slowly, Do not wander into dangerous places. I didn't mean to, she whispered. I know, he replied, voice softer this time. Which is why you're still alive. Her breath caught. He turned and disappeared into the dark hallway, the door closing behind him. Elena didn't know it yet, but she walked out of that building carrying something she didn't enter with. Damien Blackwood's full attention. And that was the beginning of her danger. Elena tried to forget the encounter. She tried to pretend the Mafia King's eyes didn't keep appearing in her mind at night. Cold, dark, unreadable. But the next morning, strange things began to happen. As she walked to work, she noticed a black car parked on the opposite side of the street. When she looked at it, the tinted window quickly rolled up. She shrugged it off. Inside the shop, she arranged white roses when Miss Grace looked at her with concern. Elena, honey, are you okay? You look pale. She forced a smile. Just tired. But all day she kept feeling like someone was watching her. At lunchtime she stepped outside to buy a sandwich. While waiting at the corner, a motorcycle sped toward her. Too fast, too close. Elena! A strong hand pulled her back a second before the motorcycle would have knocked her down. She gasped and looked up. Man in black. Broad shoulders. Scar above his lip. Be careful, he said and walked away without another word. But she recognized that suit. It was the same style worn by Damien's guards. Her heart raced. Why would he? No, he probably doesn't even remember me. She tried to convince herself, but deep inside, she knew the truth. Damien had people watching her. Not to harm her. To protect her. Why? Because she heard something she wasn't supposed to. Because she saw something. Or because he was curious about her. Later that evening, she finally got her answer. As she closed the shop and walked home, she noticed the same black car behind her. She stopped walking. Okay. This is ridiculous. She marched toward the car. The window slowly slid down. But it wasn't a guard inside. It was him. Damien Blackwood sat in the driver's seat, suit perfect, eyes calm but sharp like a knife. Elena's breath caught. You shouldn't approach unknown cars, he said. It's dangerous. You shouldn't follow innocent girls, she shot back before realizing who she was talking to. Damien blinked. Then gave a small, amused smirk. I'm not following you. I'm making sure no one else does. I don't understand. Yes, he said softly. You do. Elena hugged her bag nervously. Why are you watching me? Because you walked into a world that is not yours, he said quietly. And people like you don't survive long in it. I didn't do anything wrong. I know. He paused. That's the problem. She frowned. What problem? Damien leaned slightly forward, eyes locking onto hers. You're innocent. The word made her heart skip. It wasn't an insult. It sounded like he was calling her something rare. Something he wasn't allowed to touch. But your innocence, he continued, is exactly what makes you a target. Target? Why? Because I was seen talking to you. Elena's mouth went dry. So people think I'm connected to you? Yes, Damien said, his voice dropping lower. And I don't like people touching what's mine. Her eyes widened. What do you mean mine? I'm not. He cut her off gently. Relax. I meant that they think you might be important to me. Which puts you in danger. Elena stared at him. His face was calm, emotionless. But she felt something else behind his eyes. Something deep. Something trapped. She took a step closer, her voice small but brave. You don't even know me. Why protect me? Damien didn't look away. I don't like innocent people getting hurt because of my world. Then maybe let me go, she said softly. Ignore me. Forget me. Damien's jaw tightened. I tried, he whispered, surprising her. But my mind kept going back to you opening that door. With those wide eyes. Holding flowers like you had walked into another universe. I was scared, she said. I know. Yet you didn't run. His eyes darkened. You stared at me like I was still human. Elena didn't understand what he meant, but something in his tone made her chest tighten. He pushed open the passenger door. Get in. I'll walk you home. I'm fine. Elena, he said gently. Someone tried to hit you with a motorcycle today. That was not an accident. Her heart dropped. I knew it. So please, he said quietly, get in. For some reason she couldn't explain, she trusted him. She got inside, and the scent of his cologne wrapped around her. Dark, strong, expensive. They drove in silence for a while until she spoke. Damien, what happened yesterday? With that man? He looked scared. And you? She stopped when she saw his expression harden. Don't ask questions about things you shouldn't know, he said calmly. I wasn't trying to pry. I know. But curiosity is dangerous. He looked at her briefly. For both of us. Elena lowered her gaze. I'm not used to this world. I know, he replied. That's why I'm keeping you out of it. But you're already pulling me into it. That made him go silent. When they reached her apartment building, Damien came out to open the door for her. She stepped out slowly, looking up at him. Thank you, she whispered. He nodded. Stay inside tonight. Don't go anywhere alone. Will you still watch me? Damien hesitated for the first time. If I say yes, he said softly, would it scare you? A little, she admitted honestly. But it would also make me feel safe. He looked at her for a long moment, something unspoken passing between them. I don't scare you, Damien said quietly. Not enough. What makes you think so? He leaned slightly closer, his voice barely above a whisper. Because you're still looking at me like I'm human. Elena didn't know why those words sent chills down her spine. She opened her mouth to ask what he meant, but Damien stepped back. Good night, Elena. He walked away, his shadow long and heavy. She didn't know it yet, but as he got back into the car, Damien whispered to himself. Stay away from me, before you see the part of me that should never be seen. But fate already knew. Elena Hayes had seen the Mafia King. Soon she would see the monster inside him. For 2 days, Elena tried to act normal, tried to pretend her quiet life had not been torn open by Damien Blackwood. But everything felt different now. Every sound made her jump. Every shadow made her heartbeat quicken. And every time she closed her eyes, she saw Damien's face. Not the cold Mafia King version, but the softer, darker, unreadable one who drove her home. Confused her. It scared her. And it strangely drew her in. That afternoon, as she arranged lilies in the shop, Miss Grace called out from the back. Elena. A man outside wants to see you. Elena's chest tightened. She wiped her hands and walked out front. It wasn't Damien. It was one of his men, a tall bodyguard she had seen near him before. His name tag read Cole. Miss Elena, Cole said politely. The boss wants you to come with me. Her heart nearly stopped. Why? What does he want? He didn't say. But it's important. She should have said no. She should have refused. She should have run. But instead, her legs walked forward on their own, and she got into the black car. Cole took her to a part of the city she didn't know, a street filled with warehouses and abandoned buildings. He parked in front of a tall, old structure. He's inside, Cole said. Elena stepped out slowly, her nerves dancing. She pushed open the warehouse door. Hello, she whispered. There was no answer. Only the sound of metal clashing from deeper inside. She followed the noise and found Damien training with 2 men. Not training, fighting. His movements were sharp, angry, and filled with a violence she had never seen before. He didn't notice her at first. His focus was deadly. Then he turned. Elena! The anger in his face faded instantly. He lowered his weapons and dismissed the men with a nod. You came, he said. You sent for me, she replied softly. He walked toward her, his steps slow. I shouldn't have. You shouldn't be here. Then why bring me? Damien's jaw tightened. He seemed to be fighting something inside himself. Because I needed to see you, he admitted. Her heart jumped. Before she could reply, the warehouse doors suddenly slammed open. Men rushed in armed, masked, loud. Boss! They're coming through the back too, Cole shouted. Damien instantly switched into dangerous mode. His entire aura changed. Cold, focused, predatory. Elena's breathing quickened in fear. Damien, what's happening? Stay behind me, he ordered. Gunshots echoed. Damien didn't even flinch. The rival gang stormed in from all sides. Get the girl, one of them shouted. Elena's blood ran cold. She stumbled back and Damien growled. An actual growl, low and animalistic. It froze the men in their tracks. Over my dead body, Damien snarled. He rushed forward, faster than her eyes could follow. Not human fast. Almost impossible. The first attacker flew back like he was struck by a force twice as strong as any human could produce. Elena gasped. Damien! But before she could finish, another masked man grabbed her arm. Let go, she screamed. Damien spun around so fast his movement blurred. They weren't normal. They glowed a deep, unnatural silver. Not a reflection. Not lighting. A real inhuman glow. Elena froze in place. Damien grabbed the attacker and threw him across the room like he weighed nothing, then turned toward her. Elena, he said, voice not quite human anymore. It was deeper. Rougher. Almost two voices speaking at once. She trembled. Your eyes. But she didn't finish because she saw the rest of his transformation. The veins on his neck darkened. His pupils expanded like black ink spilling into silver. His teeth sharpened slightly when he growled. He wasn't a man anymore. He wasn't a normal one at least. Damien, she whispered, stepping back. What are you? He flinched at her fear. Elena, don't look at me like that. Two more attackers came from behind, and Damien turned with unnatural speed, protecting her again. But with every hit, every punch, every angry movement, the inhuman side pushed forward more. When the last attacker fell unconscious, silence filled the warehouse. Damien stood there breathing hard, his body tense, his eyes still glowing. Elena couldn't move. He slowly lifted his head, meeting her terrified gaze. Elena, his voice cracked. I didn't want you to see this. She stepped back again. Why you're human. He finished for her, pain flashing across his face. No, not completely. Tears filled her eyes. Damien reached a hand toward her, then stopped halfway when he saw how she flinched. Elena, please, he whispered. I would never hurt you. She shook her head weakly, unsure what to believe. Damien, your eyes. They only change when I lose control, he said, voice raw. When I'm angry or scared or... He swallowed. When I'm trying to protect someone. Her breath trembled. He didn't move closer. He just stood there, fighting his own trembling body. You're afraid of me now, he said quietly, like a wound opening. Elena didn't answer. She couldn't. Damien looked away, shoulders shaking. I'm sorry you saw this, he whispered. I'm sorry I let myself lose control. Cole ran inside. Boss, are you? He saw Elena and stopped, eyes widening. She saw. Damien closed his eyes. Yes. Elena, Cole said carefully. The boss isn't. Cole. Damien interrupted sharply. Take her home. No. Elena said suddenly. I want you to tell me what you are. Damien opened his eyes slowly, still glowing faintly. It's better if you don't know, he said. Tell me anyway. He stared at her with that broken, hurting expression, then whispered. I'm not a monster, Elena. But the thing inside me is. Everything inside her twisted with fear and something else she couldn't explain. Before she could speak, Damien turned away. Get her out of here, he told Cole. before my control breaks again. And that's how Elena left the warehouse, shaken, terrified, and full of questions. As the car drove her home, she looked back and saw Damien standing alone in the doorway, his glowing eyes watching her disappear. Elena didn't sleep that night. How could she? Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Damien's silver, glowing gaze. She heard the inhuman growl in his voice. She replayed the moment he threw a grown man across the room like he weighed nothing. Nothing in her life made sense anymore. No. What was Damien Blackwood? She needed answers. The next morning, she walked into the flower shop pale and tired. Miss Grace looked at her with worry. "Elena, sweetheart, sit down. You look like you saw a ghost." "I think I saw something worse," Elena whispered before she could stop herself. But she didn't explain. She worked quietly that day, though her hands shook and her thoughts raced. By evening she made a decision. She couldn't live with fear. She couldn't pretend nothing happened. She needed the truth. So she went to him. She took a bus to the upper city, then walked until she reached the tall gates of Blackwood Mansion. 2 guards stepped forward. "Miss Elena Hayes." She froze. "How do you know my name?" "The boss told us you might come," one replied. "He's waiting for you." Her heart pounded. He knew she'd come. She walked through the gates and into the mansion. Dark, beautiful, silent. The air felt heavy but strangely warm. In the huge living room, Damien sat alone, head down, hands clasped tightly. When he heard her footsteps, he didn't look up. He just said quietly, "I told myself you wouldn't come. And yet you expected me," Elena replied softly. He finally lifted his head. His eyes were normal again, dark, human, but full of sadness and fear. "Elena," he said, "you should have stayed away." "No," she said, stepping closer. "I need to understand." "Understand what?" he asked, voice aching. "That I'm dangerous. That I'm cursed. That I'm not what you thought I was. That you're still you," she said. "I just want to know the truth." Damien laughed bitterly. "The truth. The truth is the reason people fear me. It's the reason I keep everyone away." "Then why didn't you keep me away?" she asked. His eyes softened, deeply, painfully. "Because you looked at me like I was human." Elena's breath hitched. Damien stood slowly and walked toward her. Not close enough to touch. Just close enough to let her feel his presence. "You asked what I am," he said quietly. She nodded. "I'm half human, half something else." "What's something else?" she whispered. Damien looked down at his hands like he hated what he saw. "My mother was human. My father wasn't." He swallowed. He belonged to a bloodline cursed centuries ago. Elena listened silently. "The curse changes us," Damien continued. "It gives us strength, speed, senses no human should have. But it also gives us something darker." "What darkness?" she whispered. Damien met her eyes. "When we feel too strongly, anger, fear, protectiveness, or attachment, the monster inside wakes." Elena shivered. "So yesterday, it woke because you were in danger," Damien said softly. "And because I couldn't stand the thought of losing you." Her breath caught in her throat. Damien gathered himself and stepped back. "I never wanted you to see that side of me," he said. "It destroys everything I care about." "Have you hurt people?" she asked carefully. "Yes." He didn't sugarcoat it. "And I've spent my whole life trying to control the monster so I never hurt anyone innocent again." "So I'm supposed to be scared of you?" she asked. "No," he whispered. "You're supposed to run from me." Elena looked at him for a long moment. His guarded posture, his trembling hands, the pain in his eyes. She saw a man who wasn't afraid of enemies, but was terrified of himself. She stepped closer, slow and gentle. "Damien," she said softly, "are you afraid of hurting me?" He closed his eyes. "More than anything." "And do you want to hurt me?" His eyes snapped open. "Never." "Then please stop pushing me away." Damien shook his head. I'm not safe, Elena. The more I feel, the stronger the monster pushes. And what do you feel? She whispered. He looked at her like she was the only light in a dark world. Too much. The room fell silent. Then he whispered, I'm afraid of what the monster might do if you stay close. And I'm afraid of what will happen if I walk away, Elena said. For the first time, Damien looked lost. Elena, I'm trying to protect you. Then let me understand you, she said. Let me know you. Damien's chest rose and fell in slow, shaky breaths. He finally spoke, voice barely audible. If you stay, you will see more of the monster. Then show me, she said. He flinched. Why? Because I'm not afraid of you, she whispered. I'm afraid of you hiding from me. Damien stared at her with a deep, aching emotion he was trying so hard to hide. You should be afraid, he said. But I'm not, she replied. He exhaled shakily, running a hand through his hair. Elena, if you stay in my life, things will change. You'll be watched, targeted, threatened. I know. You'll see parts of me that even I hate. I'm ready. Damien closed his eyes, overwhelmed. When he opened them again, his gaze was softer, almost gentle. You're walking into a storm, he whispered. Then don't let go of my hand, she said. And for the first time in his entire life, the Mafia King who feared nothing, feared losing her more than the monster inside him. Elena's mind raced long after leaving Damien's mansion that night. Every step she took on the empty streets echoed in her head. The glowing eyes, the deep, inhuman voice, the way his body moved with strength that shouldn't belong to a man. She had always thought she understood danger, but what she'd seen last night was something else. Something terrifying. And yet, for some reason, it had drawn her closer to him rather than away. By the time the sun rose, she knew one thing. She couldn't ignore him. She had to understand him. The next day, she found herself walking toward the mansion again, despite every warning screaming in her mind. The gate loomed before her like a barrier she shouldn't cross, but something inside her refused to turn back. Damien was in the garden, leaning against the stone railing, staring at the roses. His face was pale, expression unreadable. Elena, he said. His voice quiet but carrying that same edge of controlled danger. You shouldn't have come. I can't stay away, she admitted softly, taking a hesitant step closer. Not after what I saw, and not after what I learned. He studied her, eyes narrowing. You don't understand. Being near me. It's dangerous. I know, she whispered. But I need to understand. Please. Let me see who you really are. For a moment Damien said nothing. The wind rustled the leaves, and the only sound was their breathing. Then he finally spoke, voice low, almost a growl. You saw the monster inside me. And now, you've seen the part one hide from everyone. It's not human. It's not safe. It's the reason I've spent my whole life alone. Elena's hands trembled, but she took a step closer. I'm not afraid of you. I want to help you if I can. He laughed bitterly, shaking his head. Help me. No one can. The monster, it doesn't listen. It only obeys instinct. And instinct tells it to destroy what I love most. You think I'm going to run? She asked quietly. I hope you do, he said, eyes flickering with a mix of fear and pain. Because if you stay, you will be in danger. And I can't. He stopped, swallowing hard. I can't bear the thought of that happening to you. Elena reached out, her hand brushing his arm. The contact made him flinch. I'm not leaving you, Damien. I want to be here. Even if it's dangerous. Even if it's scary. He stared at her hand, then at her face. For the first time, his mask of control faltered completely. His eyes flickered silver for a brief instant, betraying the inhuman side he tried so desperately to suppress. You don't understand, he whispered. When the monster awakens, it's uncontrollable. Everything I feel, anger, fear, even love, amplifies it. And anyone near me is at risk. I already saw it, Elena said softly. And I'm still here. I didn't run. Doesn't that mean something? Damien's chest rose and fell rapidly. He closed his eyes, running a hand through his hair. It means, I found my weakness. What do you mean? She asked. My weakness, he said, finally meeting her gaze, is you. You make the monster want to obey, make it calm. But you also make it stronger. Loving you is dangerous for both of us. Elena's heart ached. She had never seen him like this. Vulnerable, human, hurting. She realized then that the man behind the legend of the Mafia King wasn't fearless or unfeeling. He was broken. And she was the only person who could reach him. Then let me be your weakness, she whispered. He looked at her, pain and longing warring in his eyes. And in that moment, for the first time, Damien let himself feel something other than control or anger. He reached for her hand just a fraction and let his fingers brush hers. The contact was electric, a silent admission that despite all his power, despite all his fears, he wanted her near him and he couldn't stop it. The next few days were tense. Elena couldn't stop thinking about Damien, and she couldn't ignore the subtle reminders that she was now part of his world. Everywhere she went, she felt the weight of unseen eyes. Shadows seemed darker, streets lonelier. Then one evening it happened. She was walking home from the flower shop when a black car pulled up alongside her. The tinted window rolled down, revealing a man she didn't recognize. Suit perfectly tailored, expression cold, menacing. Before she could react, two more men emerged from the shadows, blocking her path. Elena's breath caught. What do you want?" she stammered. The lead man smiled, cruel and predatory. "You're very lucky, little girl. Your boss has interest. But not everyone likes that." Elena's stomach dropped. She didn't understand. "Boss? Damien?" "Yes," the man hissed. "The Mafia King. And anyone close to him is a target." Her heart pounded. She knew this meant Damien was already in danger, and so was she. Suddenly, a shadow moved across the street. Faster than any human, impossibly fast. Damien appeared, standing between her and the men. His presence alone made her knees weaken. "Step back," he ordered, voice low but lethal. The men laughed. "Or what?" one sneered. Damien's eyes shifted. Silver again, glowing, inhuman. His voice deepened, vibrating with raw power. "Or you die. All of you." The men hesitated, fear flickering in their eyes. And then they attacked. What followed was a blur. Damien moved like the wind, striking, throwing, taking down every man with frightening precision. Each movement was fluid, unnatural, terrifying. Elena watched, frozen, as the man she had begun to care for became something else entirely. Something dangerous, something monstrous. When the last attacker fell unconscious, Damien turned to her, chest heaving. The glow in his eyes faded, replaced by a deep, weary darkness. "You need to understand something," he said quietly, almost as if he were scolding himself. "Being near me puts you in danger. The world doesn't just whisper about the Mafia King. It hunts him. And now it's hunting you too." Elena's voice trembled. "I don't care. I don't want to leave you." Damien's jaw tightened. "You don't know what you're saying. If I lose control, if the monster awakens fully..." He trailed off, struggling to find the words. "You won't lose control," she said softly, stepping closer. "I trust you. I know you're still you. And I'm not leaving." For a long moment, Damien stared at her, the conflict in his eyes raw and painful. His hand twitched as if he wanted to pull her into his arms, to keep her safe, to claim her. But something inside him screamed to push her away, to protect her by letting her go. Finally he exhaled, shoulders slumping slightly. "You're reckless," he muttered, though the corner of his lips curved faintly. "And you've made yourself a target. But maybe I deserve that." Elena reached out, touching his arm. "No. You deserve to have someone who sees the real you, Damien. Not someone afraid of the monster. Not someone who runs." "Me." I want to be that person. His eyes softened just a fraction. You don't understand, he whispered. The monster doesn't forgive weakness. It doesn't forgive love. Then I'll be your strength, she said. And your reason to control it. I'll stand by you, even if it's dangerous. Even if it kills me. I don't care. Because I choose you. For the first time, Damien looked truly seen. The man and the monster coexisted inside him, struggling for control. And for the first time, someone willingly stood beside him, unafraid. He exhaled, finally allowing himself to feel the dangerous pull of attraction, affection, and vulnerability all at once. Elena, he whispered. You may be the only reason I survive this world. Elena smiled softly, despite the danger. Then survive with me. Don't push me away. And with that, Damien knew, the Mafia King's power, his curse, his monster, they were no longer entirely his alone. Because Elena had crossed the line. She had entered his life, his world. And she wasn't leaving. But as he looked around the darkened street, he realized something else. The underworld had noticed her. And anyone close to the Mafia King was always a target. Tonight was just the beginning. The city never felt safe anymore. Every alleyway, every whisper of movement, every glance behind her shoulder reminded Elena that being near Damien came at a cost. She tried to continue her life, work at the flower shop, take her evening walks, but the world outside the mansion always felt darker now, as if shadows themselves were watching. Damien rarely let her leave alone these days. He claimed it was for her safety, but Elena could see the truth in his eyes. He didn't trust himself around her. His monster, the part of him that had nearly destroyed everything he loved, lingered just beneath his skin. One evening, she found herself in the mansion library, a room steeped in silence and the scent of old books. Damien was there, leaning against the window, shoulders tense, staring at the moonlight that reflected off the city skyline. Elena, he said quietly, not turning around. You shouldn't be here. I couldn't sleep, she replied softly, stepping closer. I needed to understand you more. To understand why you push me away and yet can't. He finally turned, his silver eyes flickering faintly in the dim light. You're reckless. You know that. I've seen the monster in you, Elena said, voice steady. And I stayed. Doesn't that tell you something? He ran a hand through his hair and exhaled sharply. It tells me that my life will never be mine again. That everything I've tried to hide, the curse, the bloodline, the monster, cannot stay hidden if you are here. Elena took a careful step closer, lowering her voice. Then let me be here. I'm not afraid of the monster, Damien. I want to see it with you. He froze, his expression darkening. You don't understand. The monster isn't something that sleeps like a human's fears. It wakes, it feeds on my emotions. Anger, fear, attachment, love. All of it amplifies it. Her eyes widened. Attachment, love. Yes. His voice cracked slightly. The moment I start caring, Elena. The moment I start feeling like a human again, it becomes dangerous. For me. For everyone around me. Elena's heart ached. Then why do you stay near me? Damien looked at her. His chest tightening as if the question pierced deeper than a knife. Because I can't. I've tried to push you away. I've tried to stay distant. But my life, my curse, my existence. It doesn't let me forget you. Every thought of you awakens something I can barely control. She swallowed. Then teach me to help you control it. For the first time, he let a small, almost imperceptible smile touch his lips. And what if you fail? I won't, she whispered. Because I choose to stay. Silence fell over the room, heavy and weighted with unspoken truths. Damien's eyes flickered silver again, the inhuman glow reminding her that beneath the surface of the man she was beginning to love, a monster waited. Always hungry, always dangerous. The tension was broken by a sudden crash. The front doors of the mansion slammed open, echoing through the halls. Damien immediately tensed, instincts kicking in. Elena grabbed his arm. "Who?" she began. "They're here," he muttered, voice low, almost a growl. "The underworld. They know about you now." Elena's breath caught. "They're here for me." Damien nodded, jaw tight. "Not just for you. For both of us. Anyone close to me is always a target. And they see you as leverage, as a weakness." He moved toward the windows, scanning the streets. "We have no choice. We fight or they take what I hold dear." Elena placed her hand on his chest. "Then we fight together." For a moment, Damien just stared at her, raw emotion flickering across his features. The monster inside him rumbled, reacting to her bravery, her closeness, her determination. And for the first time Damien realized, the thing he feared the most, losing her, was stronger than the monster itself. The night descended like a shroud. Sirens wailed faintly in the distance, but the mansion's perimeter was silent, eerily silent. Elena and Damien moved through the dark hallways, every step a cautious reminder that danger could strike at any moment. "Elena," Damien whispered, stopping near the grand staircase. "You need to stay close. One wrong move and—" "I trust you," she interrupted. "I'm not leaving. Not now. Not ever." His eyes softened for just a second, silver flickering briefly, betraying the monster beneath his skin. He wanted to pull her into his arms, to shield her from everything, to claim her as his, but the curse whispered in his mind. Danger, destruction, chaos. A sound behind them made both of them freeze. Footsteps, slow and deliberate. Not human. Damien's pupils dilated, glowing fully silver now. His voice deepened, low and primal. "Elena, stay behind me. Don't move." The intruder revealed itself. A man, large, heavily tattooed, moving with lethal confidence. "Damien Blackwood," he sneered. "Thought you could hide. Thought your little human pet would stay safe." Elena's heart pounded. "Damien!" The monster stirred. Damien didn't answer. He moved forward, faster than the eye could follow. The intruder lunged, but Damien's reflexes were lightning fast. Every punch, every strike, every movement fluid, precise, terrifying. The silver glow in his eyes pulsed with anger and raw power. Elena felt both fear and awe. The man she loved, the Mafia King, was no longer just a man. He was something older, darker, stronger. The intruder fell. Damien's chest heaved, his jaw tight, and his eyes glowed even brighter. He turned toward Elena, voice trembling, guttural. "You shouldn't be here. You shouldn't see this side of me." "I want to," she whispered, stepping closer despite the danger. Damien's head dropped slightly, and a growl rumbled from deep in his chest. The monster within him responded to her presence, the love and attachment amplifying its strength. His hands trembled as if holding himself back from losing control completely. You make it worse," he admitted, voice breaking. "Every time I feel you near, it grows. And if it awakens fully, nothing will survive." "I'm not afraid," Elena said, placing her hands on his chest. "I'll face it with you." The monster inside Damien roared. Silently, invisibly, but Elena could feel it vibrating through his body. It was power, anger, instinct, protection, and love all fused into one. Damien's control wavered. His silver eyes flared, teeth elongating slightly, veins darkening. He was on the edge, a hair's breadth from losing control completely. Then Elena did something no one had ever done. She reached up, gently cupping his face, meeting the glowing silver gaze. "Control it," she whispered. "You can do this. 'Cause I trust you. And because I love you." Her words, their warmth, their sincerity, hit him like a shockwave. The monster inside Damien stilled, simmering but not gone. His breathing slowed, his body relaxed slightly, though the power still radiated off him. For the first time, Damien allowed himself to fully see her, not as a weakness, not as a liability, but as his anchor, his reason to fight. The danger wasn't over, but they had survived the first night together. He dropped to one knee in front of her, voice quiet but raw. "Elena, being near me, being close to this monster, is dangerous. I can't imagine my life without you now." Her hands didn't leave his face. "Then let me be here. I'll accept the danger. Because you're worth it." A faint smile touched his lips, a mixture of relief, pain, and longing. The monster inside him rumbled, but it no longer consumed him completely. For the first time, Damien understood that love didn't weaken him. It gave him a reason to fight control, to restrain the curse, to survive. Outside, the city was quiet again. But Damien knew the underworld hadn't forgotten. Elena's life was now irrevocably tied to his, and the shadows lurking in the corners of the city would never stop hunting them. Yet, for now, in that quiet mansion, with danger still close but temporarily held at bay, Damien let himself simply feel. For the first time in his long, cursed life, the Mafia King allowed himself to hope. And Elena stood beside him, not afraid, not running, but ready to face the monster, and the man who carried it. The night was thick with fog, curling around the streets like fingers. Elena could feel the tension in the air as she approached Damien's mansion. Every instinct screamed that danger was near, yet she moved forward, driven by the bond she had forged with the man behind the Mafia King's fearsome legend. Inside, the mansion was silent, eerily so. Damien was nowhere in sight. The flickering candlelight along the walls cast shadows that danced unnaturally. Elena's heart raced. "Damien," she called softly. No response. She advanced cautiously down the hallway, noticing the faint scratches on the polished floor, signs of a struggle. Her breath quickened as a cold dread settled in her chest. Then she heard it, a low, guttural growl that didn't sound entirely human. Her heart stopped. She knew that sound, it was him. "Damien." Elena ran toward the sound, fear and determination fueling her steps. She found him in the grand hall, surrounded by shattered furniture. His body tense, veins darkened, eyes glowing bright silver. "Damien," she cried. He didn't respond at first. His hands shook, claws forming at his fingertips. The monster inside him was awake, furious, uncontrollable. Every movement radiated raw power and danger. "Elena, you shouldn't have come here," he growled, voice deep and distorted. "I'm not leaving you," she shouted, stepping closer despite the fear curling in her stomach. "Damien, look at me. I'm not afraid." For a brief moment, his eyes flickered, human emotion peeking through the monstrous glow. But it wasn't enough. The monster surged, reacting to her presence, the attachment, the love she radiated, amplifying its power. "Stay back," Damien roared, swinging an arm. Elena barely dodged. The force pushed her across the room. She hit the wall but didn't fall. "Damien!" she screamed, tears streaming down her face. "You're not alone. I'm here. I'm with you." The monster howled, a sound that shook the walls, rattled windows, and sent Elena to her knees. She covered her ears, struggling not to be overwhelmed by the supernatural energy radiating off him. He advanced on her, each step leaving a dent in the floor. His silver eyes bore into hers, full of danger, hunger, and something that resembled despair. "Elena, you can't stop it," he growled. "If it fully awakens, everyone will die." "I don't care," she cried. "I trust you. Control it. I know you can." Something inside him shifted. Her voice, her unwavering faith, pierced the chaos of the monster inside him. For the first time, Damien faltered. His massive chest heaved as he tried to regain control, but the power within him was relentless. Suddenly, his body jolted violently. The monster surged forward, and Damien's human form was barely recognizable. Muscles bulging, fangs elongated, silver eyes brighter than ever. He roared, shaking the entire mansion. Elena's heart hammered, but she did not run. Instead, she stepped forward, placing her hands gently on his chest. "I love you," she whispered. The words, simple, pure, and fearless, cut through the monster's rage. Damien froze, a deep, shuddering breath leaving him. The power inside him churned, battling against her presence, against the human part of him that wanted to protect her. He fell to his knees, trembling. The silver glow faded slightly, revealing a face contorted with pain. "Elena, it's too much. I can't." "Yes, you can," she interrupted firmly. "Because I'm here. And because you want to control it. You are stronger than the monster. You've always been stronger." His gaze softened slightly, just enough for Elena to see the man beneath the beast. Slowly, painfully, he sank to the floor completely, breathing heavily. The monster receded, leaving Damien shivering but conscious. Elena collapsed beside him, wrapping her arms around his trembling form. "It's okay," she whispered. "I'm not leaving. I'm not afraid." He buried his face in her shoulder, voice raw and broken. "I almost lost control. I almost." "You didn't," she interrupted, holding him tighter. "You stayed human. And that's all that matters." For a long time they stayed there, holding each other. Outside, the fog pressed against the mansion, silent and watchful. But inside, for the first time in his long, cursed life, Damien allowed himself to feel safe, because Elena had faced the monster and had not fled. The following days were tense. The underworld had not forgotten Elena's presence, and Damien knew that enemies were watching, waiting for a moment of weakness. Every shadow, every knock at the door, every phone call carried a potential threat. Yet something had changed. Damien's control over the monster had improved. Elena's presence anchored him in a way he had never experienced. The love she had shown him in his most dangerous moment had lit a path he thought he would never see. A path where the man and the monster could coexist, if only barely. That night, Elena insisted on staying in the mansion. "I'm not going anywhere," she said firmly. "You don't understand," Damien warned, pacing the room. "Being with me. It's dangerous. I can't guarantee your safety." "I know," she replied, taking his hand in hers. "But I also know you're not a monster. You're Damien. And I love him. Not the monster him." He stared at her, eyes flickering between silver and dark brown. "You're fearless. Reckless. Why do you do this to yourself?" "Because loving you is worth it," she said softly. His chest rose and fell rapidly. The monster inside him rumbled, but her words, her love, calmed it slightly. For the first time, Damien considered a life where the curse did not rule him entirely. Then the sound of breaking glass shattered the silence. Shadows moved in the courtyard below. Multiple intruders. They had come for Elena, for him, for everything he had tried to protect. Damien's jaw tightened. The silver glow returned to his eyes as the monster awakened, but this time it did not fully consume him. Elena was there, grounding him, reminding him of the man he still was. "They're not getting her," he growled. "Not while I'm alive." He moved faster than the eye could follow, taking out attackers with precision and supernatural strength. Elena watched, fear and awe intertwining, as Damien fought with controlled fury. His voice shifted between human and inhuman, warning enemies and roaring in rage. One attacker lunged at Elena. Damien reacted instinctively, sweeping the man aside like he weighed nothing. The monster surged briefly, but Damien's love for Elena restrained the full destruction. She ran to him, gripping his arm. "You can do this. You're in control." For the first time, Damien realized she was not just a passive witness. Her courage, her trust, her love gave him the edge he needed to fully subdue the attackers without losing himself entirely. When the last intruder fell unconscious, Damien's chest heaved. The silver glow faded, leaving him human but exhausted. Elena wrapped her arms around him. "You were amazing," she whispered. "You didn't lose control. You protected me, and yourself." He buried his face in her hair, voice low and trembling. You were my anchor. Without you, I would have." "You didn't," she interrupted. "I'm here. I'm not afraid." For the first time in decades, Damien felt a fragile hope. The monster within him was still there, a part of his bloodline, his curse, his destiny. But Elena had shown him something extraordinary. That love could be stronger than fear, stronger than rage, stronger than the darkness inside him. He looked at her, eyes soft and human for the first time in what felt like forever. Elena. You're my reason to fight, my reason to survive. Not the monster me. She smiled through her tears. And you're my reason to stay, no matter the danger. Outside, the underworld still lurked. Shadows would always be waiting. But inside the mansion, a bond stronger than any curse, any monster had formed. Damien Blackwood, the Mafia King with a monster inside, had found someone brave enough to face the darkness, and love him anyway. The night ended quietly for now, but the story of love, danger, and the supernatural had only just begun. Did you feel the danger? The forbidden love? The monster within? If you loved this story, hit that like button, subscribe for more thrilling Mafia Time supernatural romances, and comment below. Would you dare love a monster if he was your only chance at survival?